Okay, so today's lesson is on piecewise functions, and it's so exciting. Now, a lot of people don't like to do piecewise functions. I don't understand why, because you get to take a function and break it apart. We get to be destructive. Yay! So let's define what a piecewise function is. I don't have my pen on, that's why it's not working. Okay, now I have it on. So a piecewise function is defined. A piecewise function is defined by two or more equations Now, those equations are going to be shortened into a little part because we're breaking things apart. So they specify them over a specific, they're going to be having a specific domain over a specified domain. All right, so when we evaluate them, we're going to use that specified domain to know what we're going to be putting, what part of this broken up function we're going to use. So we must use the equation whose specified domain includes the x value that's being evaluated. It's really, really important that we pick the right function that we're evaluating. So that's what a piecewise function looks like. I know it looks complicated. You got 3 lines there. It has different parts to it. It's this if that, this if that. But really, you're going to look at each piece very, very carefully, or just one piece at a time. So let's start with example 1. On example 1, it tells us that f of x is equal to 0, or f of 0. We're looking for f of 0. So this part right here, the if statements, these are our specified domain. So we want to know which one of these 3 specified domains that 0 belongs to. The bottom one, x is greater than or equal to 2. Well, 0 is not greater than or equal to 2. The middle one, -1, is less than and x is less than 2. It's not between -1 and 2. So, oh, wait, it is. 0 is between -1 and 2. So we're going to use that one, f of x, and that goes with this one, is equal to x minus 2. So if I'm looking for f of 0, it goes 0 minus 2. So f of 0 is going to equal -2. And you don't do it for all 3 parts, just the part that it qualifies for. So on this next one, we're looking for f of -1. Well, I see a -1 here, and I see a -1 here. Which one does it belong to? Well, that middle one is, -1 is less than x. But on this top one, x is less than or equal to, and that's the important part, it's or equal to. So we're going to use this part. So f of x is equal to 3. So when I do f of -1, that's going to equal 3. And I'm done. So let's take a look at f of -3. So where does that fit? Well, it fits the same one because -3 is less than -1. So we're still going to use that f of x is equal to 3. So f of -3 is equal to 3. And we have that last one then is f of 3. Well, 3, it's going to be that one we haven't used yet. X is greater than or equal to 2, and so I'm going to write that up here. F of 2 of x is equal to, and that's, wow, that's a big one, -1/2 x plus 1. So f of 3 is going to be negative 1/2 times 3 plus 1. So that's going to be negative 3/2 plus 1. Well, negative 3/2 plus 1. 1 is 2/2. So negative 3/2 plus 2/2 is negative 1/2. And let's state that that's f of 3. There we go. I'm looking at the same one that we just found some for, but we're going to find all of them, all the ordered pairs, and put this on a graph. So we're going to look at each one of these sections. So let's take a look at this part where it says f of x equals 3. Oops, there we go. F of x equals 3. Well, that's when x is less than negative 1. So this is where negative 1 is. So I'm going to have this little xy table at less than or equal to negative 1. So negative 1 and smaller is like this. And they're all going to be 3's. So I'm going to put at here, I'm going to make a line that goes like that. And that's all that is for that part. And then we're going to do f of x is equal to x minus 2. That's for the x values between negative 1 and 2. I am going to include negative 1 here, but keep in mind this will be an open circle. So negative 2, and I'm going to have 0 and 1 and 2. So negative 1 minus 2 is negative 3. And 0 minus 2 is negative 2, 1 minus 2 is negative 1, and 2 minus 2 is 0. So it's a line segment, and I'm going to start at negative 1, 3, with a 0, or an open circle, and I'm going to end at 2, 0. So I get that line. And I need one more. And that's going to be that f of x is equal to negative 1/2 x plus 1. And we're going to start that at greater than or equal to 2. So I'm going to start it at 2. It is a line. So I'm going to just 4, and I just need 2 points for a line. So 2, negative 1/2 times 2 is negative 1, plus 1 is 0. And 4 times negative 1/2 is negative 2, plus 1 is negative 1. And so I'm going to start at that point where I left off at, and I'm going to go down like this. And it goes on and on forever. So everything, all 3 colors or all 3 pieces, is the entire piecewise function.